Hello there, and thank you for taking the trouble to look at my little video. Just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce to you my 1972 Austin 1300 GT in teal blue. I learned to drive on a standard Austin 1300 way back in 1977, and I took my test on one as well. That was in June 77. I always said to myself, I'd love to have a GT one day. To paraphrase the old Ford Capri sales pitch, it's the car I always promised myself. And in June 2017, almost 40 years to the day, I acquired this little beauty. They very rarely come up on the market, and when they do, they're snapped up very quickly, so I consider myself extremely fortunate to have acquired this car, particularly in such good condition. I don't have very much historic paperwork with it, which is a shame, but what I have managed to ascertain from that is that I'm probably the 10th owner, which may seem a lot, but when you consider it's 48 years old, and the first three owners were in the same family, they kept it for about 22-23 years, and indeed two subsequent owners only owned the car for very short periods of time, between 18 months and 2 years. At the time of me making this little video, she's done just over 82,000 miles. Let's have a little closer look, shall we? Whilst I love the exterior colour, the interior colour would not have been my choice, but beggars can't be choosers. It's called Autumn Leaf, I believe, and the door cards may even be something called Lime Flower. I'm not sure if they're matching, but the fact is, I've originally thought about having it retrimmed in black, but quite honestly, the expense, it would have been prohibitive. And since the actual vinyl is cleaned up very well, there's no damage to it, I thought, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The seat covers, or the pillow covers should I say, were found off of a site on eBay. Shame the GT on the front isn't blue, but hey ho, you can't be, beggars can't be choosers. The headlining is original, but it suffered from a problem which I think is endemic to these cars. It had what appeared to be, I think, glue stains in the edges and also down the back pillars over the parcel shelf. And despite going to a car valeter, he was unable to remove them with various chemical compounds. So rather than the hassle and the expense and the time of having a new headlining fitted, he came up with the idea of actually spray painting over the stains. And I have to say, he's made a very, very good job. But as the phrase goes, if you can't see the join. So I'm very pleased with that. One thing, however, that I did actually have to replace was the carpet, which was originally the same colour as the seats, but frankly that was completely naff, worn out and ragged. So I've got myself a new set, which is a nice black colour, which I'm rather pleased with. Let's just have a close look in the back, shall we? As you might be able to see there, the seats are in exceptionally good condition, just need a thorough clean up and then polish with some vinyl cleaner. I'm very pleased with that. As we go around to the back of the car, you can probably see in the boot lid here my reflection, which gives you an idea of the quality of the paint finish. Again, with lack of paperwork, I can't say what has happened to the car, but I've got a feeling that at some stage there was some restorative work undertaken, but whatever, I think it's been done extremely well because there's no rot or rust whatever. Boot lid fits nicely, nice action. Inside, I know it's a bit dark here, but you might be able to see the wooden spare wheel cover. Well, I gave that a thorough clean down with soapy water, and when dried I cleaned it up with a black trim wax. Now, it was rather messy, I have to say, but once it's all polished off it gives a nice sort of satin finish. That's something else I noticed, if you can just see inside the panel there, it's coated with a brown wax, and up inside the interior of the boot lid as well, and all the panels seem to be coated in this. Now whoever's put that in there it's done the car an awful lot of good and prevented any decay and tin worm getting stuck into the bodywork, so I'm eternally grateful for that. If you have a look closer down too, the chrome is original, I'm certain of that, but it's got very little in the way of pitting or scratch marks. It cleans up beautifully, so I'm very pleased with that. So the lid shuts very nicely. Give you a close up of the wheel rims, quite distinctive wheel rims if you know the GT. Now these are all original, they've all cleaned up very nicely on the outside, a bit of polishing has done wonders. The only downside was the interior of all of them was they were rusty, so I've given that a heavy going over with some wire wool, a couple of coats of cure rust, and then when that was all dry, 3 coats of satin clear varnish, and that looks really good and will protect those for years to come, I think. Okay, I'll give you a quick tour of the driver's sign. Standard 3 clock dash for the GT. Now this is an original, a period electric wash wipe and intermittent delay for the wipers, which I've never seen on one of these cars before, but it works, which is good. Standard auxiliary panel with heated rear window, hazard warning lights. These aren't actually wired up on here at the moment, although old wiring I can see around the car seems to indicate that at one stage they were. I don't know why they were disconnected, but that's the way it goes. Let's have a closer look inside. As I say, it's pretty standard, but I do like additional gauges and switches. So you can probably see just about down here I've added a 12 volt auxiliary socket for charger, sat nav and such like. The radio is an original period piece, I believe, and it works. FM, stereo, all mod cons. But down below, this is something I'm quite proud of here. This is what I wanted and I've managed to achieve. 4 additional gauges, vacuum gauge, oil gauge, voltmeter, clock, and these are attached to a firm 4-screw fitting to the heater matrix underneath. Right, I'll just give you a tour under the business end of the car. If I can find the release, there we are. Again, you can probably see the reflection in the bonnet. Good quality finish there. Found it at last, there we are. Quite a very tidy, clean engine bay, I'm sure you'll agree. Shortly after I bought the car, unfortunately the oil pump failed, which on this engine, as you probably know, necessitates an engine out job. So took it to my local garage, and the car stayed with them for months because they were so busy. But basically at the end of the day they replaced the oil pump, did what I believe they call a bottom end rebuild, so they replaced the various bearings in the bottom part of the engine. While it was out they did other things such as new clutch master cylinder and slave cylinder, and one silver lining to the cloud. Whilst the engine was out, it gave me the opportunity to actually spruce up the engine bay itself. Although it was clean anyway, I managed to clean it up nicely and paint the subframe with black hammerite. Right, let's start up the beast, shall we? And we can have a little sound. Nice sound of the A series with the twin SU carburetors. Very pleasing once you get going. You've got a nice exhaust note to it. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. I hope you've got the taste for my little car and appreciate it and understand why I enjoy it so much. Thanks for taking the trouble to watch, and stay safe out on the roads, and hope to see you at car shows in the future. All the best. Bye.